You got your SOC 2 Type 1 report. Yay! Now, how do you stay successful moving into your Type 2? I get asked this question because companies want to do a gap assessment or readiness. They want to see, okay, where do I stand with SOC 2? Am I able to achieve this thing? What am I missing? What remediation maybe do I need to do? And so in doing that, you kind of, it's not uncommon to a little bit trip and fall your way kind of through the Type 1 audit. And then you get there like, yes, this is success. And then most companies want to just kind of, okay, I did it, I'm good. No, unfortunately, now it really amps up because you move to a Type 2, which Type 2 is now going to test the operating effectiveness of those controls over a period that ideally starts when you get your Type 1. So if you get your Type 1 at the end of December, then January through June, for example, would be your Type 2 period. It wouldn't have to be, but just let's use that for example. And so immediately once you get that Type 1, you're already probably in the period and you need to be moving through. So I want to just kind of comment on GRC tools. There's quite a few of them out there in the marketplace. There's one that Hotman Group we like to use that we think is very holistic to running your program. But there's quite a few out there in the marketplace, and so these are governance risk compliance tools. And the intent is to run your programs, to keep a record of your risks and what are your controls and how do those align, and then for compliance mechanisms like SOC 2, how does that align, and to kind of bring all that together, and ultimately for your security program to ultimately keep your company secure. So I highly recommend a platform. They really have come down in cost over the last several years. They used to be just crazy out there expensive, but just not so much anymore. Now they're cloud based, they're SaaS offerings. There's quite a few of them in the world, and so that's a great way to do it. Sadly, what I see more often is companies running it in Excel. They have their list of controls in Excel and who owns it and what the frequency is. And if your company's small, that's fine. You can do it that way. I see it done all the time quite successfully. So it's not a showstopper. It just you just lose a lot of capability, right? You lose a lot of capability in really putting metrics on your program, on monitoring your program. If there's a control that's a weekly frequency, for example, the tool can send out those weekly reminders to the person, or monthly or quarterly, or what's really hard is the annual controls, because those are easy to be forgotten about because you only do it once a year, or maybe you do it twice a year and then they're easy to just forget. Or quarterly controls that have to be done within the quarter, like a user access review, for example, would have to be done within the quarter if it's a quarterly control. And so the tools can definitely help you to remember that and to remind the control owner, hey, this is what you need to do. And then when they get it done, they can drop it in there and then it's all there. So it definitely helps with audit fatigue. Once your audit starts, now you kind of have all your controls. The control owners know what they're doing. They've been putting their stuff there. And so you can pull it from that repository, and a lot of your audit can actually be flattened over the year. That's really the goal, right? Because nobody likes audit fatigue. None of us have time for that because everybody's already busy and overworked. And then now I got an auditor yipping at me for weeks to try to get them this, that, and the other that I got to go try to find out of email and tickets and ugh. And so there's definitely a much better way to run these programs than that. And so once you get that Type 1 audit, like, don't let it end there. It's SOC 2 Type 1. Don't let it end there. Like, that's the start of your program. That is a huge milestone and huge success, but that's not where it ends. That's actually where it begins. And so now you have your controls defined. Now you know what is required to evidence those controls because you just went through providing that. Keep that rhythm going. Build that with the control owners. Do a lessons learned after your Type 1 audit is over of where did we have issues, where did we trip, what was hard, and how do we make that better going forward. And then ideally get a platform that manages all that, because a lot of companies will start with SOC 2, for example, but SOC 2 is not where it ends. You want a cybersecurity program. You want to know that your company is secure. SOC 2 is just a part of that. And so again, if you're trying to run all that in Excel, well, good luck with that. But if you have it in a GRC tool, then now you can crosswalk your compliance. And so a control that satisfies NIST and satisfies HIPAA and satisfies SOC 2, you know that single control, and this is what it satisfies. You can get some really nice dashboards on your program. You know where your failures are. You can get some good risk dashboards where you know this is exactly our risk posture, and I know it because I can drill into it and I can show it to you. I'm not building something over here behind the screen in Excel. And so that is really where you want to go from your type 1. Is your type 1 celebrate the success, but then what did you learn from it? Immediately make those improvements and corrections, build out a sustainable something, ideally in a platform, and engage with your control owners, help them to understand what they're responsible for, and keep the momentum going. And that way, when the auditors show up, you're like, oh, yeah, we've been working on this. We are all over this. It's not a big deal. It's not about the audit because you've already been running your program. The auditor is just there then to validate what you've done. If you like this video, I'd love it if you'd hit the like button and share it with someone who you think it might help. Thank you.